My parents demolished my childhood sanctuary, then tracked me like a criminal. Am I crazy for cutting them off? The memories are a swirling vortex of joy and pain, a bittersweet symphony echoing in my soul. It all started in my childhood home, a place that should have been a haven but was often a battleground. As a 23-year-old woman now, I can still feel the tremor of fear that ran through me during my parents' explosive arguments when they ran a business together. The air would crackle with tension, then shatter with the sound of hurled objects. I was an only child, a silent witness to a chaos I couldn't escape. To the outside world, we were a picture-perfect family, but behind closed doors, the storm raged. When I was 6 years old, my grandpa asked me the traditional birthday question, but even at that tender age, a yearning for escape simmered within me. I told him, with eyes full of hope, that I wanted a treehouse. My grandpa, bless his heart, embraced the idea. Together, we built it, plank by plank, nail by nail. That treehouse became my sanctuary, a refuge from the turmoil below. It was more than just wood and nails. It was a sacred space. No matter what, when it was utter chaos in my house, I was there. When it was 100 degrees outside, I was there. I painted it every year, decorated it, and treated it like a religious retreat. Every summer when I came home from college, I cleaned it, painted it, even slept in it most of the time. Even after I moved out a year ago, I dreamed of one day sharing it with my own children. I imagined dismantling it board by board and reassembling it in my own yard. But those dreams were shattered yesterday, and I received an email from my mom, a message that ripped open old wounds. Oh, me and your father are tearing out that old oak tree with your ugly treehouse and finally putting in a gazebo with a hot tub. Aren't you excited for us? My heart clenched. My parents have always downplayed the intensity of their fights, denying how much they scared me. They conveniently gloss over the past, claiming their newfound faith has absolved them of their transgressions. They preach forgiveness, but they refuse to acknowledge the pain they inflicted. This latest act, the demolition of my sanctuary, feels like the ultimate admission that they simply don't care. Or worse, they don't understand the depth of my wounds. I'm crushed. The treehouse is scheduled to be torn down on Saturday, and I'm helpless to stop it. When I politely requested they save the pieces, my mom dismissed my plea with a callous, "We're hiring laborers. I don't think they'll care enough to try." Thanks a lot, Mom. Update, I swallowed my pride and called my mom, begging her to take pictures of the treehouse from every angle, inside and out. But she was dismissive and rude, proclaiming they didn't have time and couldn't possibly climb me into that piece of junk. The keepsake I desperately wanted seemed to be slipping away. I was moments away from buying an obscenely expensive last-minute plane ticket home, determined to capture those images myself. Then, an idea sparked. I remembered my neighbors, an elderly couple who had always been like surrogate grandparents to me. Mr. Smith, despite his age, prided himself on being in good shape. Maybe, just maybe, he could take those pictures for me. The ensuing conversation was bizarre. "Hi, Mrs. Smith. It's Jenny from next door. Are you guys in town by chance?" Her reply was warm but edged with concern. "Jenny, it's so good to hear from you. No, we're at our place out of town. Is there something I can do for you? Is everything okay?" I hesitated, then plunged in. "Well, not really. My parents are tearing down oak tree with my..." Before I could finish, Mrs. Smith cut me off. "What? They're doing what?" I explained the situation. A demolition plan for either Friday or Saturday. Her voice sharpened. "Jenny, I need to make some calls. I'm sorry, I need to let you go. I'll call you back." On Friday morning, fueled by a desperate urgency, I flew home. The laborers were already hard at work tearing down my treehouse when I arrived. My parents were nowhere in sight. I approached the workers and asked if I could pay them to carefully set aside the boards and metal parts, anything that could be salvaged. To my relief, they agreed. I spent hours carefully stacking and numbering the pieces, clinging to the hope that one day I could rebuild it. Around 6 p.m., my parents finally arrived, their faces contorted with fury. They barely acknowledged my presence. It turns out my neighbors had contacted their lawyer and obtained an injunction against tearing down the tree. The source of my parents' rage was clear. They were livid. They refused to speak to me directly, leaving me in the dark. Desperate for answers, I called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It took until Saturday for them to finally return my call. What they revealed was shocking. Apparently, there had been a surveying error when my parents built their house back in the 80s. The oak tree, my beloved tree, had always been on the Smith property. They explained that they had maintained an uneasy peace with my parents over the years, and they had never objected to the treehouse. But tearing it down was a step too far. The tree provided invaluable shade during the summer mornings, and they couldn't fathom destroying it. Then, they asked me the million-dollar question. What were my parents' reasons for wanting to remove the tree? I reluctantly told them about the planned gazebo. Mr. Smith then dropped a bombshell. He had always intended to legally deed the property to my parents, but now, after their underhanded attempt to remove the tree while he and Mrs. Smith were out of town. He was no longer in the mood to do them any favors. Saturday was excruciating. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. I ended up spending the night at a friend's house. This morning, my dad delivered the final blow. He wanted my crap off his property immediately. I called the Smiths, and they graciously offered to let me store the salvaged wood in their barn for as long as I needed. My parents weren't home when I left. I quietly gathered the last of my belongings, boxes on the attic, to a friend's to ship them to me. I wanted nothing left that they could take their anger out on. There were no goodbyes. I don't know how this will affect our relationship, but the truth is, we haven't had much of one for a long time. My childhood home is no longer a place I feel any attachment to. Now I'm a 24-year-old woman, living on my own. But the emotional roller coaster doesn't stop there. I'm currently navigating a complicated situationship with a friend, David, who is also 24. We had a brief fling months ago, and now it seems to be rekindling. It started innocently enough, just hanging out and enjoying each other's company. But slowly, it's evolved into something more. The added complication is that my parents are fully aware of the first fling. David used to be practically inseparable from my dad. They were like father and son. That is, until David and I became involved. Now, my dad is trying to control him, forbidding him from having any contact with me outside of a group chat. We both find this absurd. A few weeks ago, David and I were grabbing snacks at Five Below, and who should walk in but my parents. They lived 20 minutes away. They claimed they were there to buy batteries, a claim that strained credulity. My dad confronted David right there in the store, ordering him to stay away from me. He then told me he was done caring. Later, my mom texted me, claiming the Holy Spirit had revealed our rendezvous so they could intervene. Ironically, the incident sparked a much-needed conversation between David and me. We both admitted to enjoying each other's company and harboring feelings for each other. We decided to take things slow. As we were talking, my dad bombarded me with 3-page essays about how stupid I was for disobeying him, declaring he was no longer invested. He insisted David only wanted one thing and didn't truly care about me. He even said that if David was truly in love with me, he would ask for his permission to date his daughter and play by his rules. David assured me that he did care about me and that my dad was lying. Despite my dad's pronouncements, we decided to continue seeing each other, especially since he had declared he no longer cared. We both have annual passes to Disneyland, so we decided to go after work. While we were there, my mom and dad started texting, asking if I was at Disneyland. I ignored them. We stayed until closing. And as we were walking out, my dad appeared out of nowhere, holding a Starbucks bag and demanded to talk. David refused and kept walking. I, wanting to avoid a scene, begged David to stay, but he wouldn't budge. I reminded him that I was his ride, and he said he would just get an Uber. I refused to let him, so I left my parents there and drove off, tears streaming down my face. David comforted me, telling me it wasn't my fault. In the car, I texted my mom, asking how she knew I was at Disneyland. Her response was chilling. God is watching. God is always watching. I pressed her for details, and she said I should meet her at my house, which was unsettling. When I refused to meet at my house, she stopped responding. Then, my dad messaged me with a veiled threat. He said that if I wanted to know how they knew I was there, I could talk to them in person. We brought peace, and we tried to be loving, even though I knew David was doing stuff he said he wouldn't do. I just want him to care for you as much as I do and your mother does. But you're going to find out, honey, and that's really sad. He had every opportunity right there in front of us to confess his love for you and ask us for permission. We could have had a good discussion, but instead, he was a coward and he ran away. David is a coward. So from here on out, you're not to come to my home. You're no longer allowed in my home. You're no longer welcome in my home. We can meet in public to talk about how we knew you at Disneyland, because we had every intention of telling you, and that was going to be a part of the conversation. I've never lied to you, and I never will. I do not have anything to hide. That conversation could have been great, and we're still willing to have it, but David sadly isn't. I did nothing to deserve the treatment that we got from him. I always treated him like I was a good son, and I hope and pray that he doesn't do what I know he's going to do. Wolves come in, and they separate the sheep from the flock, but the good shepherd will protect you. And if David ever was a sheep, he'll listen to the voice of God, the people that loved him and cherish I love you, and I wish nothing but the best for you. If you ever want to talk, we're willing to talk to you about anything you want to know. I responded with, I don't expect him to be in love with me. That's way too soon. And if you don't want to hide the truth, just explain how you knew I was there. I will not be meeting in person for a conversation that can be had over text. He then responded with a long paragraph that said, then don't meet with me. That's how it's going to come up because you need to see my demeanor. And shame on you guys for trying to point the finger back at us. You guys are the ones that aren't doing right and hiding. Literally every box that was checked for you to like David was erased by David. All the things that you liked about him are now gone, and it was by David's own hand. From now on, You do whatever you want. I'm cutting this paint off. I mean it. Don't come by my house because you disobeyed us. You're going to have to learn the hard way again. The only difference is, now your mother and I are numb, and we don't feel anything. God will show the truth. But I wanted to make sure you weren't hurt in the process. Honestly, I don't care if I don't meet with them. I can't handle this helicopter parenting anymore. I feel like anytime I've ever brought a boat round, my dad has to insert himself in the middle, forcing the guy out. They have to control every aspect of my life. And the guys they have been okay with in the past to end up not working out because of my fear that if my dad can control him, my whole future will still be controlled by him. If I don't do it their way, then I'm doing wrong. I really like David, and he likes me. I'm 24 years old, and for once, I have a guy that doesn't run away from me because of my entitled, crazy, super involved parents. I don't know what to do. What I am most concerned about is how my parents followed me there and why. Mainly, it's my dad and the relationship thing. He wants it heavily chaperoned. He doesn't like the way that he wants me to do is the first 3 dates have to be double dates with my parents. He also enforces no kissing, and he gets very personal with the guy, asking him questions like if he's still a virgin or not, and asking him what his intentions are with me. He'll basically tell the guy what to do in the relationship. And if the guy doesn't, then he's a coward and he's not good enough for me. Here's the thing, I did let my dad have it this way once, and the other guy at the time was really nice. After we got the green light to date, I realized, well, I don't like this guy, so I wanted to end it. And I had to end it. But 4 years after I ended it, my dad would tell me that I need to bite the bullet and to settle for that guy. My dad just kept bringing up how great the guy was. And he said he liked him because the guy respected him and obeyed. And he only liked that guy because he could control him and in turn control me. If I don't do it his way, I'm called horrible. It's something I've dealt with my whole life. So I texted my dad and I told him that I'd be willing to talk within the next few days. He then told me that I need to find a new cell phone provider, and this is the last bill I have connected with my folks. They pay for it in their account and I just pay them back for my line every month. I think that cancels out them tracking me via phone provider. I've also looked for any AirTags and I couldn't find anything. My dad still refuses to tell me how he tracked me unless I meet with him, my mother, and our pastor at the church. What's my pastor has always stuck up for me when I needed him. My dad is a uber religious person. My pastor's always put him in his place, and just to clarify, the aspect connect a bit more. It's people I trust to look out for my well-being. Update. So I met with them today, and my pastor and his wife and my back 100%, and my dad told me how they found me. I guess I was still sharing my location with him on my phone through messages. My dad said that God revealed that he still had my location, so with that my parents then drove to my house to see if my car was there. They saw that David's car was there as we carpooled to Disneyland, and they waited outside Disneyland until we left. I just told him that's freaking weird and that makes me uncomfortable. They said they did it out of love because they were concerned. Basically, my pastor and his wife are behind my back 100% regarding dating. They told my parents it's totally up to me who I want to be with and not letting my parents decide. They said that I should get to decide if I let the guy my first one-on-one and then bring him to meet my parents, that I still have the right to decide when my parents will be involved, and hearing that my dad did not like this. He said he would leave the church and he would block me on all of his social media. He then screamed at me in front of the pastor and his wife, saying he can't wait for my heart to get broken, and the whole time he was thrashing David. He also called me a few names that were extremely hurtful. The conversation then ended with my dad claiming he wants to go no contact. Not now. This does suck because I love my parents. In my dad's eyes, if he can't have full control over this aspect, I don't get it at all, and that's probably how it's going to be for a while. So, Reddit, after all of this, after the destruction of my childhood haven, the betrayal, the tracking, the manipulation, the control, am I wrong for wanting to create distance from my parents? Was cutting them off the right decision? Given everything you've just heard, I'm desperately seeking some perspective here. Let me know your thoughts, honestly. Did I overreact? Should I have tried harder to appease them? Or am I justified in protecting my own well-being, even if it means sacrificing a relationship with my parents? Your opinions matter to me right now, so share what you think.